Hey everyone, welcome back. Psychedelic here. I'm recording this Sunday evening, so hopefully I'll push this out tomorrow sometime, but I got quite a stack of vinyl for you to the show for the new year. And before I begin though, thanks again for the 3K subscribers. I only think I mentioned it on the live stream I did Friday evening, which was also very fun. I may return to doing some live streams on the weekend. We'll see how that works out. See if I get some people to join, play some music. The sound quality turned out pretty decent with this lavalier, so I was pretty pleased by the sound overall. I think we had the levels correct on that. At least it's been better than in the past where it was kind of faded and couldn't hear it as brightly, I guess. But yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. No promises, but it's kind of a different vibe than just these videos I push out individually. But yeah, like I said, so the first half, I'm probably going to title this video something along the lines of, I rated the $2 bin, because I really did. At my local shop, I was surprised what I found in there. Some good stuff and some not so good, but it's just taking $2 chances on these, And then the second half of the stack is stuff I found in Kearney, Nebraska, about a week ago now. Well, a week and a day, last Saturday. Just decided to take a real road trip out there. Found a really cool 45 single. Goes for some chunk of change, and then some oddball private press stuff some of you guys might be into. There's some weird stuff in there, so let's dive in and see what we find. So this first one, it was actually not a $2 bin find, but I found this right next door to where the place I'm DJing at. They were closed that night, this bar, and so I decided to hop into the antique shop before it was closing at 6. And I kind of like what they have in there. They got some interesting record titles, some I already have. This is one I've been kind of looking for. I've seen it online, give it a couple listens. Wasn't really sure what to make of it, but I'm really glad I found a copy. And this is actually Terrence Boin, and the album's called Alias Buna. She also went by Buna. This is on the Verve Forecast label. I think in recent years this has kind of gained, people have been kind of seeking this one out. It's going for like 20 or so bucks online, which I don't think it should be going for that much, but I picked this up for $1. It's not in the best shape. It doesn't even have a sleeve with it yet, it's but it's a promo copy, white label. But it plays fine. It's decent shape. The cover's a little more, it's got kind of a spine kind of weakening on me, but this is pretty decent. Singer-songwriter. I think the more I listened to this, I kind of got into it a little more. It's kind of a mixture of styles between folk pop and not so much any psychedelic cuts on here, but there is moments of like fuzz breaks and a little more on the rural side, I would say. It's kind of like, you're kind of out in rural New York State, I would say, because I think he's based out in New York State. He also reimagines or reworks some tracks from the Apple Tree Theater album, because he was part of that duo, him and his brother, John Boylan and Terrence. But yeah, this is pretty nice, pretty decent. If you spot this for like 10 bucks, it's definitely the, I would say, the comfort zone. Picking that up. He does a cover of Subterranean Homesick Blues, which to me it's not a very great opener, but I was also surprised to see that he wrote Bring the Whole Family, which Gary Lewis and the Playboys covered on his Listen album. Probably prefer that version, but he's got a good voice as well, so it's kind of nice to see that for $1. This one was not a $2 find, but still very, very cheap for $5. And this is the association with their self-title here. This is after Insight Out. As far as like the association goes, I've never really picked up on too many of their LPs. I do have Birthday Yet. It's in one of my tubs elsewhere, but as far as the LP experience with this band, this is kind of their most mature sounding, I would say. It's kind of where they got a little more sophisticated, a little more comfortable in the studio rather than their singles. I'm kind of more of like a singles guy when it comes to this band. you know, they're basically just more known for their vocal pop singles, but this LP though is kind of a nice surprise of things. It's got a lot of great, it's got a few like country ballads or country pop ballads, but really nicely done. Sort of a nice steel lap guitar sounds on here, but also, you know, some very middle of the road pop rock, but the harmonies do stick out a little more on this one than your typical association. Pretty clean copy here. You usually see this one pretty roasted in the shops whenever I see it, so this is a nice copy to pick up on finally. I just happened to stream this one day at work and I really enjoyed it. There are more subdued, quieter moments on here, really what make it a great listen. Love Affair, The Nest, Under Branches for some highlights. And they also do a little song about broccoli. It's kind of like an inside little joke, I guess, but it's a cool track as well. So, Cheap Heat, maybe. It's slightly delic as well. Then I finally picked this one up from this group. Wasn't really seeking it, you know, wasn't full on seeking this one, but the price was right for this, and the records are in much better shape than the sleeve. But this is Love Is by Eric Burdon and Animals. This is a German pressing. It does have it was kind of splitting in the middle, so I did decide to tape it up with clear tape. I'm not too worried about it, but look at that gatefold, man. With the second lineup, I probably prefer The Twain Shall Meet. I don't have that record anymore, but it's still like, you know, 10 bucks or so. This one's gotten a little more desirable, I think. It's got the laminated cover being a German pressing, but sound quality is great on this one. It's a 2 LP set, and this is when they featured, you know, members of Dandelion's Chariot and some connections with Soft Machine. Robert Wyatt makes an appearance apparently on one track. The River Deep Mountain High cut, which is done very well, by the way. And then I think there's only one original track on here, I'm Dying, or Am I? But they also, by the end of this LP, they cover Madman Running Through the Fields, originally by Dandelion's Chariot, and Gemini. But on side 4, it looks like, I think that's the way it was released in the US, with those tracks, you know, flowing like that, but they're actually reversed on this German pressing. It's Gemini and then Madman. It just kind of segues into that track, which I think it kind of works better that way. But yeah, this is pretty good. I'd say stylistically, you know, it's definitely kind of psychedelic rock yet, but it's a little more loose in the studio. It's kind of more of like a jam going on. Maybe some jazz rock influences with, what's his name on keys? Zoot Money. And then Andy Summers was also in Dandelion's Chariot. And I think he was also with the Police later on, is that right? The strengths outweigh any weaknesses on here. But it's basically that label, MGM. And very satisfied. Got this great price, 15 bucks. So, yeah, it's going to be a keeper for a while. I've been kind of enjoying it. You know, Eric Burdon, he's not really one of my favorite vocalists. He's always he's just kind of a one-note kind of guy. Likes to stay in that one sort of area as far as, you know, the kind of soul approach, but, you know, he lets out pretty well on here, I'd say. And then with the $2 bin stuff, I gotta get going on these, but I'm not gonna stay too long on these, but Steel River, A Better Road, for very much a used copy, you know, it's like their sophomore LP on Evolution. They had a minor hit with 10 Pound Note, which was originally a track written by Passing Fancy, the Canadian group. This one's a little more Rolling Stones-like, kind of middle of the road, classic rock, nothing crazy. Kenny Rankin, Mind Dusters. I need to get familiar with this record. I knew it was kind of a cheap record, around $10 roughly, but it's on Mercury. I think this is more maybe Baroque folk pop. It's also a white label promo. Still have to report back on this one. This one I've been kind of seeking out for a while now. Just never seen a copy. Jim and Jean, People World. The Canadian pressing has a much better sleeve. It's a little more psychedelic, lava flowing on the cover sort of vibe, but this is very much harmonic pop as well. Verb Forecast. Nice $2 bin pickup here. It's kind of more folk pop based, a little bit like Friend and Lover or the Hubbles in that record. Very much harmonic pop, but got some nice arrangements on here. Then I picked up another extra copy of this. I already had a copy, but this is I See It. I See It Now by Fargo. Love this record. It's very much like a Bee Gees Go US Baroque pop. Maybe, and it gets a little trippy in spots, as I recall. RCA Victor. Yeah, if you see this one for cheap, pick it up and send it to some friends. This is really good. Karen Bella, Show and Tell. I've shared all these, I think, on the live stream I did, but I still haven't returned to this one. I did sample a little bit of this, and I think it had some nice spots on it for $2. It's like a mid-70s thing. And then Youth Choir, Voices in Shadows. I still don't know what this is. I'm sure some of you guys probably know it. Maybe looks kind of like a new wave kind of thing from the 80s. $2. Just decided to pick it up. So that's the $2 bin raid. And then I wanted to get into more of these private press things. So may not interest people as much, but some cool discoveries in here. So yeah, Kearney, Nebraska had a great day, full day digging, and this is one I found at a Salvation Army. I think that was the only place I'd ever been there in Kearney before, but this was a nice surprise. It looks like someone kind of hauled off their Funk 45s at some point, and this was the deep cut of the bunch. So the A side is When You Get Through With It, Put It Back by City Council Limited. This is a second pressing, I found out, from 75. I think there was an earlier one from maybe, 72. Got this one up on Discogs right now, but it's a funk, both sides are funk instrumentals, and they got some cool break beats in it. You Got It All, Ain't No More, B-side. Very cool find there. I think it's pushing for about 120, 150 around there on Discogs, so it's a nice deal. And then this is one I found in one of the record shops in town, well, the only one, Buffalo Records. But this is one I found, I think, just the alphabetical section, and this is the Nebraska Boys Training School presents The Young Nebraskans. I also have this one up for sale on Discogs. Very much, as you can tell, very low budget private press sort of thing. Doesn't even have a track listing or where they recorded it at, but this is kind of a local label. I think it's out of Minneapolis. Is that right? Yeah. And I see a lot of like South Dakota records and singles using that label there. But it's in the shrink yet. It's kind of curving out because it's so tight on there. But I also uploaded a track highlight off of here. They do Get Together. And it's very lo-fi. You can tell they recorded this in like some high school auditorium. The drums are just so echoey and all over the place, but they do Aquarius, of course, Down on the Corner, Put a Little Love in Your Heart, Good Morning Starshine, Sunshine and Lollipops. So it's very typical, kind of 60s covers, but I wouldn't say it's like fuzz garage, but it's very much teen beat sort of garage where it's very sloppy, but interesting results nonetheless. So that for $6 at Buffalo. I thought that was a good price. Had no idea what to expect bringing this home, but it just looked like it had something in here, and it does. It's got some nice charm to it. Is that the only one I picked from there? Let's see. Nope. I got one more from there, and I picked this one up. This is Uncle John's Band, Real Music. This is one of the gospel records I picked up on. I only gave this one spin, just a really quick spin, but I remember it had some good harmonies, at least. That's kind of why I picked it up. It wasn't that, drivel that most gospel records have with the crooning issues, but I remember this one being fairly solid. So I have to return to this one. And this is when we get into the weird stuff. I went to this other new place. I think it's like some other kind of Christian thrift shop. So they kind of curate a lot of gospel records, obviously, but I didn't know that going in. But I found this one there. Of all things, this is kind of a strange little discovery. This is Heems. It's like some sort of indie hip-hop thing. I think the only reason why they took this in was because of the title, Eat, Pray, and Thug. And I guess that's the album title, but yeah, I gave this a quick little snippet and not for me. Well, I found this one at the Salvation Army. Didn't know what to expect, but it's just one of those weird things. Fill my cup, Lord. Reverend Elmer Reimer and his musical glasses. It's on the famous Crusade label. This one was still sealed, actually. And it's musical glasses with gospel music, and it actually sounded pretty cool with the whole musical glasses, you know, filling the cups up. It's kind of some strange stuff. And then, yeah, so the remaining here is from the thrift store. So this one, out of all the private press records I've acquired over the years, this one made my jaw drop when I heard it. It's so weird. So this is a very primitive thing, as you can see. So this is Merlin Bremmers. I think it does have a title called like Fishes and something. I don't know if it's like a scripture reference or something, but it says Fishes up here. Praise Records, Merlin Bremmers, and it's just stamped on top, you know, no info on it. And once I dropped the needle on this thing, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. So it's like, I don't know what kind of tape machine he used, but it's all warbly in spots. I mean, there's some tracks that come out sounding okay or clean, but the whole thing is very thin. Like the production on it, it's got this very thin, like one microphone in the room. And there's one track that's like super creepy and ghostly. It's the track I uploaded on my other page called I Believe. So if you seek that out, give it a listen, see what you think. That dude definitely does not have any skeletons in his closet, but it was some spooky stuff. Let's just say that. And then this next one I can't find a single thing about online. And I'm kind of surprised considering the production on this. And this is called Ballard, a musical mystery. It sure is. It's kind of like a Broadway play sort of thing. Can't find a thing about it except, you know, a few credits online. Tandon Hayes apparently does the music, and then book and lyrics by Richard Wolff. And there's no booklet with this copy, and this isn't even on Discogs, but you know, looking at the credits on the back, I was just searching different credits on Discogs, and the only fairly big name I could find, and I think it's the same fella, Glenn Goins of Parliament, or Funkadelic. He apparently does some of the voices on here, you know, part of this play, at least that's what I can gather. And it does make sense though, because a lot of these musicians are from like New York City, session players from the other members I found. So yeah, it's like some New York City sort of adult themed play going on here, but it's got some play or different acts that they do in here. But musically, it's only really got one highlight, and I uploaded that track as well. So if you seek the track, what's it called? Be the track If I Didn't Love You, and then you search, you know, Tandon Hayes. Be able to find that track on YouTube. I just uploaded it tonight, so it's kind of a funky number. And then, yeah, these last two. So this one's not nearly as crazy, but Little David of the Blackwood Singers picks for you. It's kind of like instrumental rockabilly sort of sounds. I don't know, you know, the whole history about this or anything. It just, that's my first impression by listening to it. It's kind of a low budget sort of thing. Love that design there. And then this last one, so I guess this one's kind of desirable as well online. I Love You from the Searchlighters. This This is also kind of a Christian thing from like, what, maybe mid 70s, late 70s, around there. And this has got one track on it that's kind of the big highlight, and it kind of sticks in your head, at least the first catchy hook on it, Nia Noose. The first track. Someone else uploaded that on YouTube, and some of the lyrics, man, are kind of, kind of cringy. Kind of like, what are we talking about here? And, you know, it definitely has that kind of like 80s satanic panic, you know, sort of thing going on. It's very, very paranoid and whacked out. And then I forgot to show these as well, so I usually don't pick up DVDs very often. I'm kind of more of a Blu-ray guy, because DVDs over time, you know, they start to look really grainy and not very good, but I figured, you know, for a buck or whatever, I'll pick them up. But I've actually never seen this film yet, featuring Hermits Hermit's Hold On. Couldn't tell you a thing about it, but from what I could see online, the reviews weren't very spectacular, but hey, anything on the archive collection's kind of worth noting. So yeah, and speaking of films, you know, I do speak films quite a bit, or at least reference them on here a lot. And I decided to pick this one up. I had never seen a DVD copy of this, and this is The China Syndrome. Love those paranoid thrillers from the 70s. So during that time, you know, 3 Mile Island was about to, you know, be brought up in the news, and it's very, very on point with that. And, you know, the whole Watergate thing, it's got very much that kind of mindset. And, you know, kind of a little, not quite a satire on media like Network was, but it still also portrays media in a very, contemporary sort of way. So Jack Lemmon, man, I love his dramatic performances. So, and the quality of that looks pretty good for a DVD. I was kind of worried it was going to look really grainy, but looks pretty good for an old DVD. So thanks again for settling in with me tonight. And thank you again for the 3K subs, if I haven't mentioned that already. You know, I did not expect, I mean, I've been on YouTube for a long time, but I understand it's not the most popular genre of people, and people like a little more diversity, but this is who I am. And I don't know if I'm going to do anything for the 3K subs. I mean, I could do another little contest thing like we did with the 2K, which was, you know, results were kind of fun, but I'm just not really good at those sort of things. So we'll just see if it happens, you know, no rush. But I don't really have any amazing prizes to give away, like if I were to give some records away to some kind of contest winners, but I'll cook something up, see if I can work something. But till then, thanks again, and we shall see you soon.